Sara Ramirez, what was your reaction when the producers came to you and said, we're doing a musical event episode and it's going to be all about your character?
I was really kind of surprised and shocked and a little nervous and then really excited. I went through a whole gamut of emotions and excited at the chance to contribute to the show in a new way, in a way that I, hadn't attempted to before. There had been a couple of scenes in previous episodes where Callie was singing for no reason really, but singing alone or singing with Christina, and I'm kind of glad that those scenes got cut or never were shot in the first place, or, because it seemed a little bit, I don't know, it just seemed a little bit contrived, I guess. It didn't seem organic or to fit the moment of the character, so, and then Shonda asked me to sing Silent Night on one of the Christmas episodes, so to be a part of the soundtrack for the show was really neat too, and then for this to happen, was just a huge gift, a really huge gift.
Well, these types of episodes generally are even more complicated from a production standpoint, so you probably had even less of an idea of how it was all going to look put together. When you first saw it, what did you think of the final product?
I was really creeped out by the beginning, I have to say. I mean, I was, when you're in it, sometimes you forget because you know that the glass is just feels like, jelly. It's, but on camera, I was in it. So you forget sometimes how disturbing it can be. The beginning was particularly disturbing for me, but in terms of just the cinematic effect, I mean, there were some computer graphics that went into certain areas, which I thought they did a great job with. Our director of photography, Herb Davis, is just amazing. The lighting, it was just really ethereal at times. And then there were some things that were absolutely Tony Fallon's work and vision. I think everybody worked together to create a really interesting vision that was sometimes like a music video almost, very cinematic music video. Yeah. So there were risks and being taken all over the place, I think. I was really excited to see it. I was pleased with it. I thought it was beautiful to watch, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was also a very emotional episode. I actually watched it last night, and some of the scenes, especially like the scene with the baby, I don't want to spoil it for people who might not have seen it yet, were really quite intense. What was it like filming it? I mean, were you all just in the moment of filming, or did you all take stock of the kinds of themes that you guys were actually dealing with during the filming of the episode?
Right. I think there are absolutely moments where, of course, aware of the intensity of what's going on, that a child being born prematurely who might die, sustaining all kinds of, there were a lot of injuries. And but I think also just because of the nature of television, there's so many hours that you're working together that inevitably the jokes start up and you kind of have to take some things lightly because it's hours and hours of commitment to some very, particularly for characters like, Mark Sloan and Arizona Robbins, folks who are actually wrestling with the notion of losing your loved one and something being so out of your control. And it's not like death is a new concept. People experience it all the time for different reasons. But to see how somebody, Jessica or Eric having to commit to that kind of emotional, to sustain that, sustaining that kind of emotional place is exhausting. So I think from time to time we were all there for each other to kind of bring some lightness to it. It's tough. You have to find a balance, I think, between committing in the moment and taking a break every now and then because it's many hours. And that particular episode took 2-3 times longer than a regular episode too. Really? So days were devoted to songs. Wow. Songs, some songs took one day, some songs took many, many days. And sometimes I would laugh because I would just almost want to apologize because people are hearing, one of my songs in particular, Breathe. There was one song, Breathe, that we just heard over and over and over again so many days in a row. After a while, you just kind of were, I don't know. It was interesting. It was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
You don't envy the cast of Glee having to do that every single week all season.
No, I know. I have such an immense amount of respect for folks who are working that hard, I mean, absolutely gave me a glimpse into what Glee, a glimpse, I'm sure, of how hard the folks on Glee have to work. And then in the summer, I think they tour. But wow, I mean, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. I was definitely, I mean, the theater is one thing, but to bring theater and television together that way was a really interesting experience.
You see the smile that's on my mouth. It's hiding the words that don't come out. And all of our friends who think that I'm blessed, they don't know my head is a mess.
What's it like for you working with this cast?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I mean, nobody takes themselves too seriously, but when the moment calls for it, people get, they buckle down and they get serious and they focus and are very supportive of one another because as we've seen, the storylines can involve some very, very intense circumstances and situations. But absolutely, I mean, not just the cast, the crew as well. We're all trying to keep each other, remotely sane from losing our minds. It's so many hours to be together that can always make it sort of interesting. But when the storylines can be so heavy, you need somebody to break the ice, and it's usually, Patrick Dempsey or somebody like that starts joking around. Eric Dane gets people going. Funnily enough, Chandra Wilson was cracking me up one day, but nobody knew it because she was keeping it real low. And we were real close during one of the scenes, and she was going to say something just really inappropriate for the moment, and I dared her, and the camera started rolling, and she didn't do it, and I was so upset. But, that's what it comes down to sometimes. Every workplace has their way of getting through the day together. So do we.
Well, Sara, you're no stranger to awards. So, if you were to be nominated for the Emmys, we're pretty positive that you'd be submitting Song Beneath the Song, in which you do an amazing performance, really quite astonishing. And
Thank you.
You have such a beautiful singing voice. You obviously are trained, you're a Broadway actress. And you've won a Tony. Are you able to tell us about that experience, winning? You're always going to be referred to now as Tony Award-winning Sara Ramirez. It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty neat. I mean, that's something I grew up dreaming about necessarily. Wasn't even aware that could be a dream. And there we were. Mike Nichols, Eric Idle, Tim Curry. We're talking about legends of the entertainment industry. And Hank Azaria and David Hyde Pierce, one of the most talented, just a masterclass in how to look effortless at just brilliant timing. I felt like a sponge during that particular experience, feeling very much like a newcomer, even though it was my fourth Broadway show, and kind of nervous and intimidated by the whole thing. Honestly, being the lead female role in that show, and having Mike Nichols just sort of gently hold your hand through it and try to give you the confidence to get up on that stage and just have a good time. And it was really something else. Winning a Tony was beyond anything I dreamt of.
Well, on the night of the ceremony, I mean, what is it like to hear your name called, and what's that rush like as you're walking to the stage?
It's just, it's like a dream. It's surreal, and I didn't think it was going to happen at all, actually. And I was nervous to walk in that dress. I was wearing a very tight dress. Clearly I didn't think I was going to have to go up the stairs, but there I was having to go up the stairs in a strapless gown. It was comedic. It was fun. It was an emotional rush. It was overwhelming to see that many people in one theater at one time. Radio City Music Hall, with the history that place has. Just looking at all your colleagues and all these producers and all these people, the investors, actors, this family, this community that is right now just kind of calling you out in the most fantastic way. And James Earl Jones just said your name right. I mean, there were just so many reasons to be happy that night. But yeah, it's surreal. And I found it hard to speak, to breathe, to move. That's why the first entity I thanked was Claritin. All I could think of at the time. I happened to be sick and I was out of the show, which I know really pissed a lot of people off, but it is life. And so I was on heavy medication that night. So all I could think, and I think the community appreciated, because I think Claritin, which is an allergy medication, can help a lot of people get through the tough, grimy allergy season in New York. Those theaters are dusty and moldy. So I think people related. But anyway, no, it was a humbling experience, but it was a night that I will never, ever forget. I felt like a princess.
Well, I must also mention, Sarah, that not only are you a Tony winner and you're in, a very popular show, a very popular character, but this episode helped launch your singer-songwriter career as well, I understand. And you also have an EP that charted on the Billboard 200. I mean, that's incredible. How do you feel about that?
I feel really lucky to get to be a part of a project. Grey's Anatomy has moved a lot of people, has changed the mold in a lot of ways on television for a lot of actors of different backgrounds. The aesthetic factor meets this amazing writing that I get to be a part of. So to then have the platform to say, hey, maybe I'd like to take this opportunity to develop myself a little further as a music artist. And what it did was it reawakened my passion and my love for music. But for the fans, it was really great. The musical episode, another great opportunity for them to hear everybody sing. Kyler Lee, and we got to showcase a lot of other talent on the show. I think in the past, people used to get a little overwhelmed if you could do too many things. They needed you to fit in one little box. You're either an actor, or you're a singer, or you're this, or you're that.
All of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am. So many stories and where I've been and how I got to where I am.
Have you ever seen, speaking of hidden talents, Patrick Dempsey on the Oscars from a few years ago, where he's tap dancing?
Yeah, I know. The man is full of surprises. I mean, it's crazy
I didn't know that either.
To see him tap dancing, and then also imagine him on a racetrack going ridiculously fast, on a racetrack is just amazing to me. He's clearly multi-talented, and he can make babies stop crying by holding them, which I think is also really impressive.
What is going on with you guys on that show? You're all just covering the field too much. Maybe it looks greedy. You need to let the other people get in there. It's just, you're doing too much, Sarah. You need to maybe concentrate on a couple of things. You're making me tired. But no.
And also it's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of the internet. I'm calling from Sydney. Chris is in Mississippi. You're in LA, and we're just talking as if we're in a separate room. It's no big deal at all.
Isn't that something?
Yeah,
Isn't that something?
it is.
It's great. No, it's great.
I just wanted to wish you a great summer, and hope good things happen for you on the Emmy nominations morning.
Thank you. I really appreciate this interview and for taking the time and your morning to speak with me. Please get some rest, and thank you guys so much.
Thanks.